Welcome everybody to the next edition of the Stay on Course podcast. Today I have Kate Hendrickson, and she is a strategic planning and leadership consultant with more than 2 decades of experience helping organizations turn vision into action and achieve meaningful, sustainable results. With a career that spans television and film production, hospitality, and consulting, she brings a unique storytelling perspective to leadership and business growth. And today, we're going to talk about why hiring the right coach changes everything and how this will give leaders an outside perspective, honest guidance, and strategic accountability that accelerates growth and helps them reach success faster with greater clarity. Welcome, Kate, to the Stay on Course podcast.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Super excited to have you. And we both got the pink memo this morning. So we're here today in pink, everyone who's in listening land, who can't see what we look like, but we're in pink.
Yes, pink is the new black.
It's the new black. And so, Kate, before we get started, I ask all of my guests, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food is tacos because you can make them in so many different ways. I love every version of them. Give me a fish taco, a steak taco, a chicken taco, a breakfast taco. I am all in. I also have some roots. My grandfather is from Merida, Mexico. So it's in my blood a little bit, but I would say tacos are my go-to.
I love that. Tacos are great. Yeah. There's so many variations you can have. And I'm visiting Mexican restaurants at least once a week because my daughter has a lot of food allergies. And so Mexican, if you don't know, Mexican's great for people who have dairy and gluten allergies. But this week I had a fajita that I really was into. I had chicken fajitas. I thought they were so good. Rocco's Tacos, by the way. Let's give a big shout out to Rocco's Tacos. I love that. So today we're going to be talking about why hiring the right coach changes everything. Tell us a little bit about what comes to mind when you first hear that.
What comes to mind is really you're trusting this person, right? With the long-term success. And it's a partnership that you're creating with this coach and mentorship that you're creating with this coach. And so if you've got just someone who's really going to help you accelerate and really see some early success and stick with you and be a part of your journey so that way you also have long-term success, man, it can change everything. It really can.
Yeah, it can. I love that. And there's so many different aspects of, let's say, the ingredients of success to working with a coach and what you're going to gain from them. I just don't think people can see the value in the beginning when they first talk to you. I think that's the most interesting thing. It's the gap. It's the value gap, because once I have a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and it's just like, it sounds really good on paper. It sounds really good. Like what you're talking about I think I need this. I think it might be good, but you don't really see it until you see it.
Exactly. And then you feel it, right? You feel a shift or a change in your business, whether it's a financial shift or change or a cultural shift or change, or or maybe what's the service you're providing to your customers or clients or product that you're delivering, right? Whatever it might be, you're going to start to feel that shift and change. And that is cool when that happens. It really is.
Yeah. And, it's very interesting because if you think about the nature of business, okay, there are a lot of small business owners out there that just go into business, right?
Absolutely.
But you have to understand, when you go into a business, people study for years to learn some of these things. Marketing is a discipline that people go to school for. They actually have master's degrees, and they have ongoing training and support. So as a CEO, when you have a business and you think like, hey, I'm going to run this thing, there is an education that you need to have in order to make that thing work. And so as you grow and as the journey progresses, you're learning, you're learning, you're learning. But at no point do you ever get to stop learning. There is no point that a CEO can say they can stop learning.
Right.
Period.
I know everything, right? I know everything. No. Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't work
Absolutely.
that way, right? Especially right now. Nobody is the expert at AI right now. Nobody. There, I'm yet to find somebody. Okay, everybody, people learn it and they know it, but this thing is changing so fast and rapidly
It is.
that you cannot figure it out.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's everything is changing, right? I was working with a lot of healthcare companies at the time doing consulting and coaching during COVID, right? And man, the amount of change that they had to adjust to and understand, these healthcare professionals who've been in their worlds for 25, 30 years. And so I think that's just for all of us. That's just life. It's you've got to be able to adjust to these changes and continue to learn through the change and grow through the change. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's super important. I think that it's the perspective, right? We see the different perspectives, and I think we really need to get clear on what we need to be learning. And so this is the value of a coach, right? It's like, okay, one of the very first things I do, and all of you small business owners out there that are listening, let's get your job description out. If you don't have a
Yes.
job description, go into ChatGPT right now and say, write me a job description as the CEO of this company. I want you to write, pull it up. And then I want you to read it and figure out, where are your deficiencies? What do you need to learn? And then, like, this is somebody, and this is why you hire a coach, because the CEO doesn't have a boss. They don't have a boss. They don't have
Right.
someone to hold them accountable to learning the things or getting better. And so this is part of what I see as the value of a coach, that I'm going to kick your butt a little bit, Kate. I,
Exactly. Exactly. I am going to keep you committed to those expectations and promises and next steps and actions that we've agreed upon. Because if it's not me, who else is it going to be? Right? Nobody. You're the
yes.
CEO. Who
You
else is
said
going to
that
do
a
that?
lot more graceful than I just said it. Thank you for that. I it's like really like I went for it, but no,
I like it. Kick your butt for sure.
well, I mean, and this is the big league, right? CEOs put themselves in a position to make money. It's not for the faint of heart. Like, don't go
No.
into this if you are going to not be able to stand under that pressure, because it is pressure. You're going to have to face yourself. You're going to have to become aware of where your trauma is.
Yes.
And there lies like part of that self awareness that we were talking about. It's like, if you don't have like, let's say, a openness to self-awareness, you're going to keep getting stuck in the same patterns over and over again. And I promise you that as a CEO, you're going to come up with a lot of things that are going
Mhm.
to feel uncomfortable.
Right. Right. And you need to be okay that with the fact that I'm probably not going to say things that you like sometimes or that you agree with sometimes. And you really need to be okay with that aspect of having a coach as well. Because I'm here and I'm sitting here and I'm partnering with you because I want you to be successful. That's
Yes.
why I'm here. I'm passionate about seeing you grow and seeing you um, really succeed. And so I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna have the hard conversations sometimes. And I'm gonna teach you how to have the hard conversations sometimes when you need to have those. Because
Yeah,
it's tough.
it is tough. It's very interesting, the methodologies, the coaching methodologies, when I think
Right.
about it. Because in many instances, we're there as a partner to the CEO. And what
Absolutely.
that means to me is that we're going to be sometimes a consultant, and sometimes we're going to be your coach, meaning that I'm going to ask you the hard questions and I'm going to let you have that moment of aha. And sometimes I'm going to be your trainer. And
Right.
and the other thing is, sometimes I'm going to be your friend. I mean, that might just not be like accepted or not, but sometimes I'm going to be your friend.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm going to wear all these different hats while I'm partnering with you because I want to see you succeed, period.
Absolutely.
And we're there. And you said it before that you keep a very small group of clients because you want to give them the highest level of service possible. And I
Absolutely.
think that's so important right now. And I see this across the board. Clients, potential new clients are coming to me and they're like, Julie, I just paid $12,000. I paid $15,000. And I'm like, what did you just pay for? Like, my program is less money than that, more high touch, and
Right.
you're going to get more value out of the time that you have with me because I'm an actual human helping you with your stuff, not you're watching 20 videos, not
Exactly.
you're not watching 20 I can't with the videos.
The videos, the courses that you have to get through each level of the course. That's not my
No.
approach at all. So I typically start with a little bit of an assessment to say, let me see where you're at, and then I'll give an example, a quick story. I was working with a client and they came to me and they wanted to start with, they needed to hire some new people and they needed to work on their hiring and retaining some team members. And I said, okay, well, what do your values look like? What's your mission statement look like? Let's connect all of those pieces. So make sure we're bringing in the right people. We're not just bringing in any people, right? We're not just bringing in warm bodies. I want to know more. I want to get, to that foundational level of who are you as a company?
Yes.
And then let's figure out what is that avatar or ideal employee that you're going to bring on the team look like, and how does it connect to what your values and your mission and your vision looks like. So let's take a step back before we jump into, let's hire somebody new and let me help you do that piece. And they were like, well, I don't want to do that part. I need to hire them. I needed to do it last week. And so I really had to pull them back a little bit and say,
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. We can go fast. And I'm here and I'm your partner to, like, we're going to get to that hiring piece as soon as we can, but we need to start back a little bit further and some of those foundational pieces.
And this is the part. People are working so much in that they haven't thought of on. Like we talked about, the working in the business to working on the business. You need to
Right.
sit there and think about the strategic movement and momentum of your organization before you start doing stuff because you just don't know how to implement the roadmap if you're not being strategic. Second to that is like the accountability of the team members, getting the team members on board with you on that vision, having these strategic workshops and team meetings to bring these people along is super important.
Right. Incorporating them into your system and your processes that your team is working on, and a part of. Absolutely. I think, and then teaching you, well, I wouldn't say teaching you, but helping you figure out what's the right way to communicate with your team members and communicate the values and show them how they're aligned to the work that you do every day. And so I think that's a part we partner with, a strong coach will partner with you also, is what does that communication plan look like? So you are weaving it into your day-to-day work.
Absolutely. That's absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the value of a coach in regards to acceleration. The ingredient of acceleration is happening and really putting you in a place where you would not be. I know, Kate, when I started my business, and there's things that I would have done differently. And so all the learning that I've had in my career and starting my own business, I bring that to my coaching
Mhm.
clients. Like I give them ideas, I make sure they're ready. One of the things that I make sure of is that they're ready for opportunities because opportunities come fast. And if you're not ready for them, you're going to miss them. You're going to even miss they're even there.
Right, right. I was working with a client and she was about 3 years into her business. And she had finally felt like she got to a point where she wasn't putting out fires every day. She wasn't wasn't working in a reactive, a reactive way anymore, but she had no idea how to work in a proactive way. Right. And so she knew I need to have a growth plan. She knew I need to figure out what next year looks like or 3 years from now look like. She knew she needed to figure some of those things out. She had zero idea how to start and what to do. So we did strategic planning workshops, and we brought in her leadership team and kind of threw spaghetti on the wall and had some fun and got creative, and then took that information almost like a funnel, right? And narrowed it down to those really key things that are going to help move the needle quicker and accelerate them as a company. And we learned part of it was obtaining some team members. They had some team members. They were seeing some high turnover with their team, and so we really kind of honed in and figured out, how are we going? What changes do we need to make? Where do we need to course correct in that specific area, so we can make some of your long-term goals happen, and you're not consistently retraining and rehiring and re-onboarding over and over and over. It was just holding her back. So really, we saw some really great progress with them quickly because we were able to narrow it down and figure out what that looked like.
That's awesome. So the value of hiring a coach, we're talking about perspective, acceleration, self-awareness. What else? What else, Kate? What else would you say would be the value?
The upskill, the continuous learning, right? The continuous learning that we were able to help you do. And you know what? We celebrate the wins with you, and we, get frustrated with it, when things are, we have a down slope or something doesn't quite go as we expected it to.
Yeah.
So I think having that true partner that cares and that's along this journey with you, but from a different perspective of working in the business, I think that's a great benefit to have. And I also feel like some people hire a coach or consultant when they feel like things are going bad and they don't want to fail, right? And I think, yes, absolutely, we're gonna jump in and help you figure out what to do and what's next. But I think there's something to be said about just doing it because you care about your business, you care about your team and your people, you care about your customers or clients that you serve, and you want to see long-term success for all of you. And you're doing it because you really care about your business, not because your business is failing. And I think that's something that, I want to make people realize that, if you hire a coach or consultant, that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong or you're failing. You're just continuously learning and growing. And caring.
Yeah, I think it's a real smart move, honestly. I think everybody should have some sort of trusted advisor on their side, somebody that knows their business in a deep way, knows their people, because the CEO role is, first of all, isolating.
Yes.
It's isolating because you can't talk to your staff. You don't want to talk to your family because you're going to bore the crap out of them. And you need somebody that's going to understand the intricacies of all of that so you could run things by and talk things through. You need somebody like that. Even if, I guess if you don't have a coach, getting a group of people that do what you do so that you could do some of these masterminds and things like that. That's why I love community. And my program that I have, the Before I Lead program, is a community of business owners. And so the program is a combination of one-on-ones and community and accountability, because a lot of small business owners, they need that. They need that. They love that. That's even more important for them sometimes than spending time with me, because now they've developed friendships with the people that are in the group. And it's just so much more of a better position to be in. I mean, you can think about it this way. A lot of people that start their own businesses are ex-corporate people. Now, when you were in your corporate environment, you had so many people to call, to go to lunch with, to do all these things with, and you leave the corporate space and all of a sudden you're by yourself. So how long can you actually last by yourself without failing?
Absolutely. And it allows you a place to be vulnerable, right? Like, man, I'm struggling here. What have you guys done and you've seen success? When you're in that mastermind and you're talking to people that are kind of sitting in the same seat as you. And also at the same time, talk to other people and share your value and say like, well, have you thought about this, right? Or have you considered this, or this worked really well for me. So you get the wins of sharing some of the things that you're doing really well. And on the flip side, you get a safe space to be vulnerable when you're struggling with something. And it's really great to have
Yeah.
that. Absolutely.
I love that. Kate, I know you've been doing some really interesting things. Tell us a little bit about some of the other things you've been doing.
Absolutely. So, um, I will share. I've always had a passion for writing. I have contributed articles for blogs and magazines as long as I can remember. And so I made the decision a couple of years ago that I was going to write a book. And it's not about coaching or consulting or leadership or business. It is a holiday rom-com Christmas book. And it was fun. And it brought me so much joy and happiness to just create these characters in this story and write something that was going to bring people emotions, whether you laughed or smiled or, felt something, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You could probably hear it in my voice
I
and
see it
that
in
I
your face.
just
No, as you're talking
love.
about it, I'm
It
looking
was
at your
so
face and I'm like,
fun.
oh my God, you just lit your whole being lit up when you started talking about it.
It was just fun. And sometimes you just need to do something because it's fun. Because it's fun. And it was really fun. So it came out in last November of 2025. And I'm just riding this journey and loving it. And I'm working on another one, but no, the fun thing is because it's like my fun hobby on the side. It will come out when it comes out, and I want it to be something I'm proud of. So I'll just keep writing as a fun hobby on the side, but absolutely have loved this little lane I've added to my
Okay, so
journey. And
is it going to become a Hallmark movie or a movie? Are you making
I
it a movie?
I hope so.
Okay.
I don't no plans yet, but if somebody's listening and can make that happen, I am all in.
All
It's
right,
a it's
what's
a
the book called?
it's called Christmas Switch. And it's about a husband and wife who get in a little tiff or argument over Thanksgiving because she's already starting to think about Christmas. And he is wanting to watch football and relax. And he says, we have a whole month. And so they make like a handshake deal that he's going to take on all of her normal Christmas responsibilities and duties, and
Mm.
she's going to take on his. So she ends up on a roof trying to figure out lights and trying to fry a turkey, and he ends up in a elementary school classroom and ends up trying to figure out gifts to buy and parties to plan. And so they live in each other's shoes for the month of December, and they get themselves in a bunch of mess, and they have to get themselves out of it, but they still want to keep their pride intact. And so it's funny and witty and relatable. So it's been a really fun piece of my world.
Okay, so who's starring? Who are the stars that you've selected to star in it?
I mean, if it's a Hallmark movie, then I'm going with the Queen, Lacey Chabert, obviously. If we're expanding outside of the Hallmark Channel, in my head, I'm envisioning like a Rachel McAdams type mom, kind of thing. So, and maybe like a Bradley Cooper dad. He's kind of
Ooh, a
chill and
Bradley
relaxed,
Cooper dad. Okay.
right? Chill and relaxed, and where she's a little bit more just type A and wants to get things done and has her list that she's planning. So here in the dream world, I'm going to manifest that. In the
Well,
dream
let's
world, we're going to make
manifest
that
it.
happen.
For the listening audience, you've heard Kate talk about a rom-com. If you know anybody that's looking for a new script, the It script for Hallmark for 2027. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's have them on the podcast in the movie. How's that? We'll
Yes,
do a scene.
absolutely. We'll do it. I'm all in.
All right, this is going to be great. Kate's going to be the next new rom-com big it thing. I'm excited about that. You know what? I think one of the things we wanted to talk about also was that we are multi-dimensional kind of people. We do create, like a lot of us have the creation ability. And so being able to tap into some of those fun things, doing something a little bit different, I think it's important. Like, just for instance, I am in conversation with a vocal coach right now because I want to go back to singing. I want to start taking singing lessons again. And I'm talking about doing a recital in May. So, so I think that you're never too old to go back to the things that you loved to do when you were young. And you're not finished yet.
Absolutely. And I will say, I hired a book coach when when I was about midway through my book. I hired a book coach because yes, I coach leadership in business, but I had never written a book before. I knew I was a skilled writer, but I had never written a book. So I hired a book coach, and we met once a month in person, and we walked through what do I need to do next, and what's the next step on getting published, and what does that look like, and how do I query agents? I mean, that's all brand new skills that I had to learn.
Yeah.
The editing and the cover creation. There's so many pieces that were brand new to me. So I think you can keep learning and hire coaches for all kinds of things. So while I'm a coach, I also hired a coach, and that's totally fine. It's great.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things to learn and practice, especially when it comes to speaking, singing, or any sort of discipline, doing your social media. I mean, this stuff is changing all the time. And so having fun too, this can be fun. Having your own business can be a lot of fun. But you must stay curious, and you must be open to the possibility that you're investing not only into your business, but into yourself. And as you grow the business and you start looking at the numbers and the money come in, looking at that money and saying, okay, now from this money, what portion of this money am I reinvesting in to make not only myself better, my team better, but to grow the business even more? It's constant. It's almost like you taking care of your own well-being, going to the gym, drinking your water, moving, having movement. We need to be thinking of our businesses as its own being that has breath and is growing and expanding. And so with all of that comes us really leaning into how are we going to invest into that? How are we going to step into that mindset of like, I'm not just a doer, I'm a CEO.
Right. And the ability to adapt to changes along the way. So that continuous understanding that we're going to evolve and move and grow, and change is going to come along with that, and being comfortable and okay with that. I think is another important piece that we can help with.
It is. It's the other day I was really sitting with something that was bothering me. It was, I'm doing my books for 2025.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there with my bookkeeper, and she's asking me to go through my, all my bank statements. We're looking at things together, and I just like feel resistance. Like I'm acknowledging that there's a resistance coming up.
Yeah.
I think I talk about this on every one of my podcasts. The money trauma's coming up, but I have to face those things. We have to face the things that are uncomfortable, be able to acknowledge them, see them for what they are, and acknowledge them, and then figure out how we're going to take that fear and turn it into courage. Take that fear and turn it into love, because the opposite of fear is love.
Is love. Yes. Yes.
And literally, I was reading this book. I don't know if you're into this, but I'm reading this book called The Creation Frequency.
Okay. I haven't heard of that one. Okay.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. I don't know. I got to get the author. But anyway, the whole point of this book is like, we are programmed to think in fear.
Uh-huh.
Our minds are programmed. But the opposite of fear is like freedom and love, all the things that we need to be stepping into. And those are things we need to feel. So sometimes we need to bypass our logic and what's in our mind to then envision and create the new life that we want. It's way more complicated than that. But what I'm saying is that we get really wrapped up in our thoughts. Mm-hmm. And when we start spiraling like that, we need to have a method to move into a different space.
Yes. When I was in college 20 something years ago, I was terrified to take that public speaking class, right? I had so much fear, and the sweats and the anxiety of getting up and putting myself out there and having to give speeches and put my words out there. And when I got out of that class, came around to a point where I loved it. I loved giving that final speech. So then I applied for a job at the radio station at the college, and I was a DJ on the radio station at the college. I mean, I truly turned that fear of talking in front of people and getting in front of people into fun and into, I think it actually has helped guide a lot of the work that I've done over the last 25
Yeah.
years, is turning that fear of public speaking and being in front of people into, now I'm like, I love being on podcasts. Put me on a stage. I love it. I love it so much. But exactly what you're saying. Sometimes you have to face those fears
And just do it. And just
and
do it.
just do
What
it
was your
and
call
just do
letters
it.
for your radio station?
KSLU. I think it was like 90.9. Oh my, okay. You're,
All right, do
like I
you
said, 12.
remember it? I remember mine. I was on the radio too.
No
Eight,
way. Okay. Okay.
89.7 The Voice. Wait, WGLS FM. Wait, 89.7 WGLS FM, The Voice of Rowan College.
I love that you remember that. Let me think. That mine was 90.9 KSLU. I cannot remember our tagline for the life of me, but
Oh my
I was.
gosh. I throw it out every once in a while because I'm like, The Voice of Rowan College. That's when I was in college, I did radio. And I got so obsessed with the way my voice sounded. When I was 19, I'm like, oh my God. Because at 19 years old, I'm listening to myself on the radio. So I got like really
Yes.
self-aware of what my voice sounded like. And I went to go take a voice and articulation class. And I started really getting that warmth in my voice and really working that through, because we can work on our voice. People don't realize that you can work on your voice. So if you're talking like this, that you don't have to talk like that anymore. You can talk
Yes.
in a different place. And of course, I
And
always go back into that like New Jersey thing. And you take your voice and articulation class. They will point out all of your flaws, all of them. I did
yes.
that, and they're like, "What did you do? Did you go to did you live in Massachusetts?" They said to me, and I'm like, "Yeah, I went to college there for 2 years." And they said, "You picked up the accent." In 2 years, I picked up a Massachusetts accent. That so I have a New Jersey, Massachusetts accent, which is like horrible. And so then they taught us, I don't know if you ever took a class like this in college, the American standard of speaking.
Mm-hmm.
These are like the
I
random.
yes. Please continue. But yes, know exactly
No,
what you're
I mean
talking
it's the
about.
American standard. It's the
Yes.
one they speak on the news, right? So if you're if
Yes.
you're listening to the news, it's like kind of like that Midwest thing where you can't really figure out where someone's from. And
Yes.
I think that is the best way to speak, is to kind of like lose some of that real regional accents,
But do
because
yours come out sometimes when you say certain things? Because so I'm from New Orleans. Anytime I tell people that, they say, "Well, you don't sound like you're from New Orleans." And then I'll say something very Southern, like, "She's sweet as tea." And then it comes right back. Like I
yeah,
say something that, or I get around my family. I get around my family and I sound like a different person. But
we
I
sound
have,
different wherever we are. I mean, I grew up with accents, so I could do any accent from like I grew up with I'm a first generation American. So I grew up with all different kinds of accents, and I grew up with a lot of people from I grew up in New Jersey. The Long Island people were in Long Island, Staten Island, they were all there. So I can throw it down with the best of them when I need to. But
same.
I like to
I
not do that if I can try not to. So
Yes, yes. My New Orleans comes out here and there, but majority of the time, everyone says, "Like, you don't sound like you're from New Orleans."
I love it. I love it. Well, Kate, thank you so much. I think this was an amazing conversation. Where can our guests find out more about you?
Absolutely. So my website's probably the best place. It leads you to all the social media channels and ways to contact me. So it's kate-hendrickson.com. So I would love to connect with you there. And I just love conversation. So sometimes I just love talking to people. So yeah, that's where they can find me.
All right. Thank you, Kate, for being a guest on the Stay on Course podcast.
Thanks. Appreciate it.